Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Josh. I'm a photographer and filmmaker from West Michigan. And in this video, I want to walk you through how I create this like stutter glitch effect on my footage inside of Davinci Resolve. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and take a look at what the actual effect looks like on an actual project.
And I am so proud of the two of you.
So as you can see, this is a pretty simple like stutter strobe glitch effect that I'm doing without any additional plugins or anything. Now Davinci Resolve does have a really convenient glitch effect that I sometimes use additionally. But the thing is with the Davinci Resolve effect is that it's a little bit more of like an actual like glitch where it adds some artifacts and warps and things. And sometimes you want just a really simple like stutter strobe effect if you're creating like a teaser or a project trailer or something like that. And you just want to basically strobe some footage in and out. I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so here we are inside of Davinci Resolve, and I want to show you how to use this stuttery glitch effect on your footage. Now, the first step in this process is to make sure that you've done all the major like color grading and stabilization effects that you're going to do on your full clip before you start trying to break it up into this more stuttery, glitchy clip. And so for this clip, I've just done some basic color grading here. I've done some curves. I added a little mask. I did my Rec 709 conversion, and I applied my creative LUT, which is my sunset LUT from my coastal LUT pack. Shameless plug. If you haven't checked out my LUTs, these are the LUTs I use on every single one of my projects. I think they're awesome and they do a really great job. So shameless plug for those. The link will be down in the description if you want to check those out. But essentially, I've done the basic kind of color grading that I'm going to do on this clip. I haven't done any stabilization for this specific clip, but if you want to do that, make sure you do that before you start applying this effect. Step 2 in the process is then to go in and make a compound clip from the initial clip that you're going to use. And you can do that a couple of different ways. For me, I have a key command set up on my keyboard, so I can just tap the letter N, and that just comes up to create a new compound clip. Or you can just select the clip, go up to the clip menu and click new compound clip. So I'm just going to title that stutter edit clip. Now we have a new compound or nested clip from that initial clip, which means anything we do to this clip here doesn't actually affect that initial clip. And so if we want to like change the color grade or change stabilization or something, we can actually right click on that clip, go up and click open in timeline, and that opens the initial clip. So we can do all of our color grading, any additional stuff we want to do on that clip, we can do right here. And then this is where we're going to actually create that stuttering and glitchy effect. So once we've done that, we move on to the next step, and that's to basically chop up this clip into its individual frames. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. For me, I have a key command set up. I'll show you here. If I go up to keyboard customization, go over here and search for split clip. Right here, split clip, I have this set to the key command of X. And so basically what I can do is if I just select the clip, right here is where the playhead is, I click the letter X, and that just splits the clip into at the point where the playhead is. Then the next thing I want to make sure I have selected is up on the timeline window, I have selection follows playhead enabled. And so if I click the right arrow over, it automatically moves the playhead over. Now it's selected over this clip, which means it now selects it automatically because that setting is enabled. I can just click the letter X again and it splits it again. So this is a really easy way to go through and break the entire clip up into its individual frames. It makes this process super easy. Obviously, you still have to go through and break a clip up into its individual frames. It's not like it's a cool plugin. You do have to do some legwork here, but genuinely it's not that long. And basically by the time I finish the sentence, I'm going to have broken the entire clip up into all of its individual frames. There we go, done. So the next thing you're going to do is start deleting frames, and that's how you're going to create that stuttery, glitchy effect. And the temptation here might be to just go in and delete every other frame. But if you do that, the stutter glitch effect is going to feel really, really like predictable and really aggressive. And I'll show you how this looks if we were to do that. If we were to go in and delete every other clip in the entire sequence, I'll speed this up here so you don't have to look at this. So this is with every other frame deleted on that entire clip. You can see how aggressive this like strobe effect looks. Wow, yeah, so that's really, really aggressive. There might be a place for that in some specific project. If you're doing like a horror film, that might be something you want to do. For me, I like to have a little bit more subtlety to my glitch and strobing effects. And so the key to that is to make sure that you add some randomness and some delays in the stutter when you create this effect. So the way that you do this is basically by creating some space between the frames, not playing every single frame and giving some additional space for frames to just kind of sit on nothing, and also by having like multiple frames in a row that actually show on the screen. So I'll show you how I would do this. So basically if we start with like one frame on, then we're going to do like say 3 frames off, then we're going to have 1 frame on again and 2 frames off. Then we're going to have 2 frames on, 1 frame off, 1 frame on, 2 frames off. Then let's do another 2 frames on, 3 frames off, 2 frames on, 4 frames off, 1 frame on, 1 frame off, 2 frames on, 3 frames off. Then let's do 1 frame on, 1 frame off, 1 frame on, 2 frames off, 2 frames on, 1 frame off, 2 frames on, or let's do actually 3 frames on, 1 frame off, 1 frame on. So that's basically how I've decided to split this up. I do this differently every single time I do it, so it just adds some randomness to the entire strobe. But basically what you can see is on the first 2/3 of this kind of stutter effect, I'm adding more space than I have actual frames that are on. So it's kind of slowly building on. And as I get towards the end of this clip, you're seeing I'm using more frames on than I'm using frames off. So let's just go ahead and play this so you can see what it looks like. So from the beginning, this is what it looks like. That's a really nice way to kind of like have an additional strobe kind of glitchy effect on your footage. Now, obviously, you can play around with the frames that you have and how often those frames kind of drop and come back on again. There's a lot of different ways you can play with this. But generally speaking, that's how you create this strobe effect inside of Davinci Resolve. Now, a couple quick tips on how to make this even better. The first thing is going to be to play around with the opacities of the actual footage and of this like nested compound clip here. And so to demonstrate this, I'm going to actually drag this up onto the next video track and drag this track over and kind of show you how this plays out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the first, like say 1/2 to 2/3 of these clips and actually go on and go up to my composite mode and change this to the screen mode. And so you see these first clips here are actually going to have like an opacity on top of the footage that's underneath them. So they're going to come on with a little bit more subtlety and softness than if the entire clip just came on at 100% right away. And then obviously once we get to about like here is when it switches, and now we're just playing clip on, clip off, and kind of switching back and forth between the two. So let's go ahead and look at how that looks. That's really nice. That's a little bit more of a subtle way to kind of slowly like bring that in a little bit. If you're trying to ramp up into something, that's a really nice way to do that. The next way to kind of play with this is to actually go back to the initial clip itself and add a fade after you've done this entire glitch effect. So I'm going to go back to the actual initial clip. So if I right click and click open in timeline, or I already have that open in the timeline right here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag this little kind of toggle here and just basically fade in this clip over like the first 2/3 of the clip. So it's going to start with nothing and kind of slowly fade in over time. And what that's going to do over here, you can see these thumbnails have now updated where the initial thumbnail is like black and it's slowly kind of starting to fade on, but still like doing that strobe glitchy effect as it fades on. So here's how that looks. So obviously that's getting a lot more intense as the strobe starts to build. Again, we're just trying to add some additional dynamics to this effect, make it feel a little bit more natural, a little bit more organic, and less like in your face. And then the final thing you can do is actually start playing with the actual orientation of the clip itself, like flipping it vertical, flipping it horizontal. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go in and select just a couple of clips and do like maybe these 3, go up into my inspector window. If that's not turned on, just click it up here to turn the inspector window on and go over to the transform window and just flip that clip, say like horizontally. And then we're going to flip these 2 vertically. And then that one we're going to leave. We're going to flip these 2 horizontally again. Flip these ones vertical and horizontal, leave a few frames, flip that one vertical. And so now we have a bunch of different clips that are just kind of like going crazy all over the place. And that's how this looks. That might be a little bit too intense, but you kind of get the idea. You can basically just go in and start playing with things and really get a really interesting, unique, random kind of glitch strobe effect on your footage. Now, obviously, you want to be subtle with this effect and you don't want to overdo it and give people seizures. I know when I first started using this in my projects, I would just use it all the time and really have had to like scale that back just because I was being way too aggressive with how I used it. But if you're intentional with it, if you use it really intentionally in your projects, it can be a really great way just to add some additional dynamic, additional like spice to your films without having to use any additional plugins inside of Davinci Resolve. So anyway, that is how I create that stuttering, stroby, glitchy footage effect inside of Davinci Resolve. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was helpful, or if you have any questions about how I do this, please let me know down in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.